It's not always about one moment that changes everything. It's about the path that you take to get somewhere. And so for me, the Blue Devils has been a journey.
Being a Blue Devil is a mindset, trying to be the best version of yourself every day.
All the exploration we've done. We go through so many different emotions, and I think this last moment is kind of a grand farewell, kind of an end to the journey. And for us, it's just all about kind of making it as big and as epic as possible.
There's something very dark and brooding about the very beginning of the show. And then as we go through the first production of the show, it kind of transitions from that concept of idealism to the concept of individuality.
From a surface standpoint, it's visceral. Like with the capes at the beginning of the program, that's powerful. I think you would just say, this is powerful. And then you'd start to go, oh wait, they're in a character right now. Yeah, that's the fun part.
After our first big impact in our show, we transition over to our tenor feature, where we have two of our members stepping onto the prop. And this whole moment is about individuality and showcasing what we can do as a quad line. Super dense figure, lots of different modulations in the rhythms there, and there's a very strange environment for listening. We have two members up on top of a prop and the three of us on the bottom. I think the biggest thing is just kind of demanding that the audience looks at us with a lot of confidence. Not exactly angry, not really happy, but definitely knowing why we're there and what we're there to do.
After the big hit of that phrase, some rifles start to appear afterwards. There are 7 rifles that start off by tossing a 6, we catch it under our leg. From there, we do a triple, we tap it, catch it in a backhand, and then we have some 6s come up where we do some turnarounds, we do some arms underneath them.
That is a really fierce moment for me. I really like to just grit my teeth at that part. That choreography is just honestly one of my favorite parts of the show.
The low brass actually gets a moment to shift gears a little bit into a nice orchestral low brass sound, which then sets up the angular high brass triple tonguing feature.
front ensemble transition into the next moment, and we go into this just visceral, like intense 16th note run from the marimbas. And I think what's really cool about this moment is you have those two components, the woods playing this like really dense, fast-paced thing, and then on top of that we have Hayden, our drum set player, just shredding throughout that entire moment.
So that feature is extraordinarily difficult in the hands. We're doing some buzzed grace notes. We're doing offset threes that are really fast. A lot of what the battery does is supporting the core. And so when we get those feature moments, it's a lot of how much can we show off. It's a lot of hard vocabulary all put back to back. And that's really our first snare line statement of the show.
At the end of part one, we have this very physically demanding section that starts with the mellophones playing this repeated line.
A bunch of us are playing super technical things, taking big step sizes, we're jazz running. So again, we need to separate our bodies from the music. We don't want any feeding the sound.
So the challenge is finding the time, but still letting this moment build and just giving it motion and giving it emotion as we turn into the end of part one.
This is the big final hit at the end. It's intense, it's passionate, it's really suspenseful. The harmony there is just super dense and super angry.
It's this very big, in-your-face, aggressive, really huge, loud drum corps sound.
I'm Sasha Cavallero and I'm the captain of the Blue Devils Color Guard. I've always wanted to be a Blue Devil, and being able to lead the Blue Devils Color Guard is just a dream come true. The Color Guard has been pushing to be the best that they can be. The drive that they have this year is just insane. And I know that if I can march drum corps and lead a team during drum corps, that I could do anything. I feel like leading by example is the bigger picture here. I feel like if you just do what you're supposed to do, people will start to follow that.
Thank you so much.
Everyone has an important position here. We're all Blue Devils. So just knowing that and living up to that can make someone feel the part of the group. Even being in this position, a lot of the times I feel like I don't deserve it, but I trust the staff, and if the staff wanted me to be here, then that's their call, that's the right call. We just want to be the best that we can be and achieve excellence.
The essentials. I got more talkies.
and gushers. And of course my dot book, but this is what's important.
When we get into part 2, imagination comes forth.
The main source idea of inspiration for that is a piece of music called Merry-Go-Round of Life by a composer named Joe Hisaishi. He's a Japanese composer.
The Romantics invented our modern explanation for the word creativity. So it's very important to reference those moments of playfulness. In the middle of that section, though, is a reference to Frankenstein that everyone reacts to in their own emotional way.
So at the merry-go-round section of the show, all the musical elements are placed in the pit. That section has a lot of push and pull, a lot of rubato.
We do have a lot of achels and DHL phrases, which really relies on our ability to just like use our eyes and our ears to see like what's happening like in the center and inside of us.
The main tempo controllers, I guess, are our center marimbist, Mako, and our drum set player, Hayden. And so all of us try to hone in on those two people.
This is very free and very loose and very rubato. And those are terms that are not normal for the drum corps idiom.
I think it's a really cool moment that really shows off our ability to communicate with each other and also just the technical ability of each player as well.
Our capes come off, it exposes more of our individual selves.
It's just very like light and uplifting music. Some dancers go back to the drum line and take off their capes.
And then they dance around with them as the sabers are moving in towards the center of the field.
And there's dancers who are also doing a leg lift, and the sabers do a really cool like flip around them while they're holding their leg up. And then there's people who do turn sit rolls on saber. We're supposed to be like pretty, or like trying to be more fairy tale like, magical per se.
The low brass has their house moving castle kind of lullaby is what they call it, and that transfers directly into what we call the monster.
You know, it's like has this like dark heaviness to it, but also has like a light mood around it. So it's like a really interesting dichotomy of ideas where it's like we still have a little bit of that like gothic horror element that from the beginning of the show that kind of pervades through this, but then there's like a lightness that soars above the top of it.
Part 3 of the program is called introspection, And this is a portion that really references the cult of self that the Romantics had.
And I think of that section of the show as being like sort of heroic. And one of the trademarks, I guess, of the Romantic era is like the focus on the individual, but also like the ideal of like the individual hero.
Once we get into part 3, every single section is playing these fast 16th notes in a pretty spread form, so the listening environment gets pretty difficult.
Really fast notes. Some of them are in the high register, and it's just a lot of practicing. You know, I remember being in my room late at night before the summer, just taking it down like 60 clicks and learning each note little by little.
Make sure there's still good energy in the articulation, and that we're not playing so hard to play perfect that we're losing the punch, the energy in the direction.
The Pokemon section is one of the most fun sections to perform in the show for most of the brass. Musically, you know, I'm a trumpet player. We get to have the melody through that section. We're kind of doing a little bit of classic Blue Devils octaves between the leads and then the seconds and thirds. So it's a lot of fun to really be able to put a little bit of sizzle there in our musical section.
A lot of us grew up playing Pokemon, so it's like, oh my God. I remember hearing this when I was little, and now we're doing it. Now we're making it happen. So I think you can see the kind of the childish joy in our eyes when we're playing this moment.
Beyond introspection, we start to look at inspiration, and inspiration can come from all kinds of places. With us in this program, it's energy. It's a lot of energy, and people inspiring people, individuals inspiring individuals.
During the double rifle feature, it almost seems as if we're playing a game of like catch the ball, because we go back and forth with throwing the rifles between each other. My biggest thought in my mind would be that I have to have a lot of fun with it. All of our tosses to each other are good, and just that the energy is there the whole time.
We have a pretty extended percussion feature because it's felt in 4, but it's written out in 3. And there's challenges there. The Fra Ensemble is playing something that's really hard to latch onto time-wise. So there's a lot of challenges with playing that chunk and how it's written out.
The drums have their solo that sets up a really cool high brass moment. A lot more, again, angular articulated features,
It's really hard to lock down on tempo, and when you're putting in rhythms like triplets and 16th notes, there's great dynamic control there as well. It's such a cool part.
You know, we're handing off entrances between the trumpets and the mellophones. The trumpets are playing some super technical triple tonguing sections. So if we don't nail those exactly in time together on our entrances, the whole thing kind of sounds a little bit muddy. So we've worked really, really hard at getting those entrances lined up, the triple tonguing together, and just playing as an ensemble through that section.
The rifle feature that we do at the end of part 3 is specifically difficult because we're reaching over to certain sides. We're getting low to the ground, we're getting high up.
Super fast choreography around the leg, around your body, really just hitting all the planes. And then the big toss at the end is, of course, the big wow moment where we all get to toss it and we do our barrel turn and then just bap it.
All right, if you just throw it as a separate idea from your body, then you're gonna have to turn around and fish for it. You have to tell it where to be when you turn around. Plan the outcome, plan the location.
So many things happening, so many rifles just spinning all together in like unison. I just personally want to show the crowd like, this is who we are, look at us.
Next week on Inside BD360.